Tonight, when you climb into bed, you'll close your eyes and try to sleep straight through. 8 hours, no breaks. That's what your alarm clock expects. That's what your doctor tells you. That's what every health article says is normal. But for thousands of years, your ancestors did the exact opposite. They went to sleep at sunset. Then, around 2 or 3 in the morning, they woke up on purpose, and they stayed awake for an hour, sometimes two, in the middle of the night. This wasn't a sleep problem. This was the plan. And the reason it stopped is stranger than you'd expect. The fact is buried in plain sight. For most of human history, people slept in two parts, not one. Two. The first part was called first sleep. It started at dusk and lasted around 4 hours. Then people woke up. They prayed, they smoked, they had sex, they visited neighbors. Then they went back to bed for second sleep until sunrise. This pattern shows up in over 2,000 old documents, diaries, court records, doctors' books, plays, prayer manuals, from ancient Greece to the 1800s, and almost no one alive today has heard of it. The man who found this hidden was a historian. In 2001, Professor Roger Ekirch at Virginia Tech published a paper called Sleep We Have Lost. He wasn't even studying sleep. He was studying nighttime in Old England, but the same words kept showing up in old letters. First sleep. Second sleep. At first, Ekirch thought it was a small thing. Then he found 500 references. Then he kept looking. Today, the count is over 2,000 in more than a dozen languages. Homer's Odyssey mentions it. So does Virgil's Aeneid, written in the 1st century BC. Even Chaucer's Canterbury Tales talks about a character waking after her first sleep. This wasn't one strange village. This was almost everyone, for almost all of recorded history. But that's only half the story, because a historian finding old words is one thing. Proving the human body still wants to do this is another. In 1992, a psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr ran a quiet experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took 8 healthy men. He put them in a dark room for 14 hours every night. No phones, no lamps, no TV, just darkness, the way the world used to be. For the first few nights, the men slept 11 hours straight. Wehr thought they were just paying off a sleep debt. But by week 4, something weird happened. The men stopped sleeping in one block. They started sleeping in 2, about 4 hours. Then they woke up. They lay there calm, awake, for 1 to 3 hours. Then they fell back asleep for another 4 hours. Wehr published the results in the Journal of Sleep Research. The title was simple. In short photo periods, human sleep is biphasic. In plain words, when nights are long and dark, your body wants to split sleep in half, by itself, with no one telling it to. This wasn't insomnia. This was the body remembering. But there's another layer to this, and it's the strangest part. What did people actually do during that gap in the middle of the night? The records are very clear. Some prayed. Catholic monks had a service called Matin, which usually fell between 2 and 3 in the morning. Special prayers were written just for these wakeful hours. A French doctor in the 1500s named Laurent Joubert told couples that the time between sleeps was the best time to make a baby. He wrote that they have more enjoyment and do it better. Others smoked a pipe, tended the fire, checked on the animals, wrote letters. Some quietly visited neighbors. Some lay in bed and thought about their dreams from the first sleep, which were often very vivid. They called this gap the watch. Then slowly, the watch disappeared. In the late 1600s, street lamps came to big cities, then gas lamps. Then, in 1879, Thomas Edison made the electric light bulb cheap and easy. Bedtime got later and later. The first sleep got squeezed. The wakeful hour got squeezed. By the early 1900s, the second sleep had vanished. It didn't fade because we got smarter. It faded because we got brighter. Now think about the last time you woke up at 3 a.m. You stared at the ceiling. You felt scared something was wrong with you. You reached for your phone. You called it insomnia. But what if it isn't insomnia at all? What if waking up at 3 a.m. isn't your body breaking down? What if it's your body trying to do something it has done for thousands of years? Doctors today are starting to ask this question. If darkness brings the old pattern back, like it did in Wehr's experiment, then maybe the people who wake at 3 a.m. are not broken. Maybe they are simply running an older program, one that fits the night sky better than a light bulb does. For most of human history, your ancestors did not fight the dark. They walked into it. They slept 4 hours. They opened their eyes around the time the moon was high. They prayed, or held someone, or sat by a small fire. They didn't panic. They knew the second sleep was coming. They had a quiet hour that belonged only to them. Then we lit the world, brighter and brighter. We pushed bedtime later. We crushed the watch. We told ourselves anyone awake at 3 a.m. was sick. And so, somewhere in your DNA, an old clock still rings at 2 or 3 in the morning. It rings, and you check your phone, and you call it a problem. But it isn't a problem. It's a memory of a quieter night, a slower world, an hour that used to belong to all of us. And most of us never even knew it was gone.